had like 3 whole weeks of vlog footage that I was going to edit, and guess who accidentally deleted it instead of moving it to her computer? Okay, so you get the short version of what I've been up to since the beginning of the year, or I guess since the last time I posted a vlog, which was in like January or early February. My car broke down 5 times in 5 weeks, and I had to start shopping for a new car, and that was 6 horrible weeks of dealing with car dealerships. And then my cat Noodle passed away. She developed cancer, and everything has been like really stressful and rough. And in the middle of all of my horrible stress, I had a book reel go viral, and I have been scrambling to ship so many books and keep up with comments, and that turned into like a full-time job. And that was really hard, but some good things came from it, and I'm glad to be through the thick of that. But I have a new problem that I get to share with you today. So I was pretty sure that this week I would finally get to start writing my next book. I have worked so hard trying to get things ready to write this book. And I happened to open Facebook this morning and I saw a flyer for a local event. And who is on the flyer? It's me, for an event I applied for in November that they never told me that I got approved for. They told me there wasn't space, and they were going to have to limit how many authors they accepted. So they were prioritizing new authors who had never done the event before. And I was like, okay, that's fair. And they're like, okay, but if we have space, we'll let you know. They never told me anything, and it's now April. So I assumed that because I never heard anything, I didn't get in. And so here I am, I'm like right on the front page as one of the authors that's supposed to be there, and nobody told me anything. And now I've got less than 2 weeks to get ready for an event. So instead of writing, I'm going to be getting ready for this event. And also because I didn't think I got accepted to this one, I applied to a different one that happens the following weekend, and that one I was approved for. So I've been getting ready for this one that's, 3 weeks away, thinking that that was all I was going to have to deal with. But no, now I'm going to have 2 events back to back, and I don't have enough book inventory to do 2 events back to back. I'm going to have to not take all of my books because I just don't have copies of some of them. I just did an event. So I'm a little stressed out right now, but it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I am taking a load of Kickstarter books to the post office, and then I'm going to come home and I'm going to take inventory, figure out what I need to order, what kind of signage I need to make, because I need to raise the pricing on some of my books because Ingram's printing costs went up again. It's just a lot, and every time I think I'm going to get a chance to write these books, something happens. At some point, I am just going to have to rearrange my schedule. I'm not going to be able to do a spring release like I wanted to. So I'm going to push that one back to the fall, which means I'm going to have 2 autumn releases, and then over the summer, I'm going to have the 3rd Kickstarter for the 3rd book in my fantasy romance series. It just means a very long dead zone in the first part of the year for me, and I don't like that very much. But this is what we do. We're gonna roll with the punches. And it has been a very, very rough year so far, but not everything, I guess, is terrible because, I did have the viral reel that made one of my book series finally take off. And, when I started talking about what I wanted to achieve with my writing, with my journey as an author, I had a goal that I shared, and I want to show you something. And I said I really wanted to be able to buy a Mustang with my writing. So I've got my old girl, and then I've got my new girl. And this is something that I've been working for years. And the reel that I had that went viral, that got so many of my books selling, it finally pushed my savings up over the edge to be able to go get my dream GT. I've wanted a Mustang GT since I was 6 years old, and I finally have it. And the S197 here still runs, but it's having some issues. So it currently is needing some work before it can really be drivable. But my daughter is going to be old enough for a learner's permit in a little bit over a year, and she's had her eye on this car for her entire life. She started eyeballing it when she was 4 years old, and I think somebody is going to have a big moment of excitement when she is old enough to drive. So, I mean, you know, if anybody ever tells you that you can't make your dreams come true by writing books, just know that they are liars, because I did it, so can you. Okay, so I used to have multiple shelves full, and I'm down to like less than one shelf worth. This is all I have here, is these and that one shelf over there. So Snakes Blood Saga, I still have quite a few of the later books in the series that are the older cover that I recently discontinued. I've got 4 copies of book 2 left, and then 6 each for the later ones. So I'll probably just take like the 2 of each to the event, just in case somebody wants the whole series. But I only have 2 copies of book 1 with the new covers, and I should probably order in at least 1 of each book so that I have a whole matching series. And if nothing else, if it doesn't sell, I'll have it handy to use for marketing. And I should probably have maybe like 5 copies on hand. None of these events ever really do big numbers, but I think 5 copies is a reasonable number to have on hand for 2 events back to back. So between, you know, that and these, that's 7 copies that should get me through 2 events just fine. Down here, I've got plenty of copies of The Witch and the Worm left because I did several signings that highlighted this book, and it, shipping-wise, ended up being a lot cheaper and more practical to get a bunch of copies at once. So I have plenty of that, but I've only got 4 left of The Cinders and the Crown right now. So I might get like 2 more, because one of the events that I'm doing is at a library, and they want you to donate copies of some of your books. And I was thinking that these 2 standalones would be a good donation to the library to cover my table cost. West King's Heist, I've got 2, and one, it's crazy, one of these is from Ingram and one is from Amazon. You can tell the difference in the covers there. But this is the old cover, and I have 1 copy up here. This is the newer cover, and I don't usually sell a ton of this. This is the omnibus. It's got all 3 books and some short stories in it. So I don't know, I think maybe 2 copies of this. And down at the bottom, I've got the Artisan Magic books. I've got, let's see, 4 copies of The Assassin's Bride, but I also have some hardcovers that I'm going to take. So I think maybe I think this actually is probably going to be enough for this. Plenty of copies of The Spy Master's Prize and The Artificer's Wife, so this is probably fine. I also have a couple copies up here that were for Kickstarter. They're just like leftovers because I always order a few extras. And I put them up here to like reserve them in my head, at least to make sure that I had, you know, extra copies to cover anything if issues came up with damaged copies and shipping or anything. But now fulfillment is pretty much done. I've just got like 2 hardcover sets left to ship, and then 2 annotated copies to ship, and that's everything. So I can probably just drop these down here with the usual stock, and so those are just fine. And then Spectrum Legacy is pretty picked over. I've got only 1 copy of book 5, and it's kind of damaged on the end, so I don't really feel great about selling that one. I've got enough copies of book 1 probably to get through the events, and then I don't think I'll need more than like 2 of each of these, so I could probably skate by without getting more of these right this instant, but I should probably get 2 copies of book 5 since this one is damaged, and I need some copies of book 6 because I don't have any. So I guess that's my list. Now I gotta go sit down and place an order. Okay, so I got a bunch of books ordered so that I will have inventory, hopefully. I have to make sure that it all actually comes in time, but The thing that I'm working on right now is I have so many books now that it can make my table really overwhelming, so I'm trying to figure out a good way to slim down what is actually on the table, which should make it easier for people to tell like what all goes together, because that's something that I get asked a lot at events lately. It's like, you know, okay, which books are part of a series, which ones can be read by themselves. So, you know, having like 20 books out makes it very difficult. So I'm going to be changing so that I only really have like entry points on the table, and I'm not even going to have displays of the later books in the series. Previously, what I was doing was I would put like a stack of the books in a series and then have book one either like in front of it or on top of it to show that they went together, but that did not help and people were still confused. So I'm gonna pare it down, and there's only gonna be maybe like 6 books on the table plus my special editions, because I have a couple leftover special editions. I had somebody ask for a refund due to personal situation changing, so she canceled her order after the books were done, and now I've got some with like the sprayed edges and all the extras, so I can put that on my table too. So I made these little card things, and this is gonna go in the top of the books that are going to be on the table. So it's got like the title up at the top, and this lets me put the pricing on there because, you know, I have different formats of them. Some things I have some things that are both hardcover and paperback. Also, my shorter fairy tales are less expensive than the other books, and I want to start raising prices of some of my bigger fantasy books now that printing costs have gone up. So it's going to be easier to change pricing on this for individual books. So here, you know, it's just got like the cinders and the crown, and then it says, you know, it's a standalone story, fairy tale retelling. It's not going to focus there. The QR code takes people to Amazon, so I had a lot of people at my last event asking about reading books in Kindle Unlimited. So having them scan a QR specifically for that book to take them to the Amazon page should make it easier for me to catch those readers. And then in this little box here, I've just got like a description and the popular tropes, and I know people complain a lot lately about using tropes for marketing, but it works. So, you know, people ask what's in it, and they can quickly read this and see. So I've got like my social media tagline, which is also the first line of the book's blurb, just, you know, to kind of give like a taste test of what it's about. So, you know, this one for the cinders and the crown says, "Forget pumpkins, the clock just struck midnight and the prince turned into a dragon." And then, you know, the trope list is just like dragon shifter, banter, he hunts her, fairy godmother, fey tricks, masquerade ball, mashup of Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, he falls first. And I made these for the 6 books that I'm going to have out on the table. I'm going to be paring it down, so even though the Artisan Magic books are standalones in a series of standalones, I'm only going to put the Assassin's Bride out on the table because it's really where I want people to start. You can read them in any order, but it is better if you start with the first book, because by the time you get to book 2, you know all of Gil's secrets, because they are chronological stories. Even though each one is its own story, you know, having characters make cameo appearances means that they have to be fit in sequentially somehow. That's the way that I went with, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I think it works out okay. Since The Cinders and the Crown and The Witch and the Worm are both standalones in the regard that, you know, they're set in the same world, but there's no connection, no cameos, no overlap whatsoever between the two of them, both of those are going to be out on the table. And then I'll have West King's Heist, because that's an omnibus, so that's like the whole thing all in one. And then, you know, like my book ones for my chronological series, Serpent's Mark and Spectrum Blade. And I think taking it down to having just 6 books on the table should be a lot easier for people to manage. But yeah, that is just my quick update for where things are at the moment. Hopefully things will start going a little bit smoother now. But if this week is any indication, then I'm not sure that it will. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.